So I have a question for you. Oh, let's get that away now. We don't need to see that. It's a jump scare, isn't it? Oh my gosh, yeah. Here's a question for you. At Christmas time, we obviously hear about the birth of Jesus, if you're up to speed on that. But in our Gospels, we actually don't hear from Jesus for about another 30 years, apart from just one mention of him when he's 12 years old in the temple at Luke 2. Now, if people were writing about my future, me in the future, I'd be very happy to skip out all my embarrassing adolescent years, not least my stage of wearing waistcoats and beanies with ear flaps. Now we can... we won't have that up too long. But my question is this. What did Jesus spend the first 30 years of his life doing? What did he get up to? What was his mission? Work with me here. What do we reckon? What was he doing? Any ideas? Studying?
Helping his dad and learning some skills.
Yeah, working and kind of learning from his dad. Yeah. Any other ideas? Fishing? Yeah, a bit of fishing.
Hanging with the rabbis in the temple.
Hanging with the rabbis in the temple. Dealing with puberty? Yeah. Hi, I'm Jesus. It's an interesting question, right? What did Jesus do with most of his life? And it's a question that has really bothered people throughout church history, especially the early Christians. And so what they started doing was they started writing stories to fill in the gaps. And these stories are often called the pseudo-gospels or the infancy gospels. And they are very, very fun. For example, one of these stories we hear that baby Jesus climbed off the bosom of Mary to smite some dragons. It reads, "And having come to a certain cave and wishing to rest in it, the Blessed Mary dismounted from her beast and sat down with the child Jesus in her bosom. And lo, suddenly there came forth from the cave many dragons. Then Jesus went down from the bosom of his mother and stood on his feet before the dragons, and they adored Jesus, and thereafter retired." It's from the Gospel of Pseudo-Matthew, somewhere between 600 and 625. In another text, child Jesus wants to play with some children, but they run away from him and they hide from him. So he goes to their house and he turns them into goats. And then these children goats, these kids, whatever you want to call them, they begin dancing around Jesus while their mothers beg Jesus to change them back, and he does. And then they definitely play with him immediately out of fear of being made into a goat again. And I couldn't find any art from the story, so I made this on AI, which I thought was a pretty good shout. Pretty good shout. These writers wanted so badly for Jesus' childhood and these years leading up to what the Gospels tell us to be filled with exciting stories and incredible displays of power. But I don't actually think Jesus did anything miraculous during this time. Certainly not fighting dragons or turning naughty children into goats. Although I do sometimes want to turn my children into livestock myself. I think that Jesus, for most of his life, was simply being with others, enjoying people's image-bearing qualities, doing life with them, delighting in their humanity, enjoying the ordinary with the ordinary, because to Christ they were extraordinary. This is Jesus' primary purpose in this world, to be with his creatures. And I think even if humanity was perfect and sinless and powerful and there was no need for the cross, Christmas would have happened anyway, so Christ could be with humanity. This is the argument of the theologian Sam Wells, who I got to spend a bit of time with earlier in the year at the cathedral, and he argues this: God doesn't set the world right at Christmas. God doesn't shower us with good things at Christmas. God doesn't mount up blessings upon us and then get miserable and stroppy when we open them all up and fail to be sufficiently excited or surprised or grateful. At Christmas, God said unambiguously, "I am with. Behold, my dwelling place is among you. I've moved into the neighborhood. I will be with you always. My name is Emmanuel, God with us. God just wants to be connected with humanity. Sometimes we forget this, or we're distracted, or we're busy, or we're indifferent. And it grieves me that people are missing out on experiencing the divine company in their lives, a company that illuminates and gives meaning to every inch of our existence. And sometimes we just haven't learnt the art of prayer or practicing the presence of God, or we've secularized the sacred ordinary. But the primary message of Christianity is that God simply wants to be with and connected to the people he created, to you. We could say that God is like an author who writes himself into his own story because he loves his characters so much. Or that God is like a coach who puts on the uniform and starts playing himself. Or that God is like a choreographer who joins in with the dance because he loves the dancers and the dance. God just can't help getting involved and getting close. He loves his creatures and creation. He is the infinite entering the finite, the image of the invisible God. And so this Christmas, would you know the God who is with, who even in our less than ideal current state simply wants to enjoy our company? May you go from this place aware that you are never alone, for Emmanuel walks with you. Alone is impossible. And may you carry the peace of being deeply known and deeply loved by the God who chooses to be with. Amen.